to rehabilitate the National Food Reserve Agency and also work with security agencies, the Nigerian Commodity Exchange, and the National Assembly to find a lasting solution to these disruptive and unpatriotic hoarding activities.
Indeed, the next level agenda has taken Nigeria's agricultural sector a notch higher and is determined to sustain the tempo through a clearly defined pathway. In a minor cabinet reshuffle to strengthen weak areas, close gaps, build cohesion and synergy in governance, manage the economy and improve the delivery of public goods to Nigerians, the presidency announced the redeployment of Dr. Mahmoud Abubakar from the Ministry of Environment to assume duty as the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development.
Even the people that will eat, buy Nigerian produce wherever you can. Because that is the only way we can support our own farmers so that they can continue to produce. And we just found out that yes, we can do that during the border closure. We have sufficient rice. Everybody eats, even Mr. President in his house, he eats that same rice I do. So there is no reason why we cannot patronize our own farmers. So food security is everything. I mean, it can make a difference. There's no reason why we cannot do this. We have the talent, we have the resources, we have everything it takes to make Nigeria the #1 producer, exporter of food, not just to African countries, but even outside this country.
While the new minister is determined to pursue President Muhammadu Buhari's directive to Nigerians to eat what they produce, the former minister Alhaji Mohammed Sabo Nanono urged the Ministry of Agriculture to stay focused and speak with one voice. The Minister of State Alhaji Mustafa Baba Shehuri and the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Dr. Ernest Afolabi Omakie, pledged support and loyalty to Dr. Abubakar's commitment to actualizing the President's vision in the agricultural sector.
We have learned a lot. You have played almost part of role. For that, I think our world and as a farmer, you have been very passionate about seeing about trying to see how you can address, help the small, from the farmer. And I think to a reasonable extent you have achieved that. You should be very proud and we're all proud of you.
I'm assuring you, sir, Honorable Minister, that you have the cooperation, the unallowed support and commitment of this dedicated management and staff of the ministry, as we all look forward to an actively robust, strategic and engaging session geared towards changing the narrative of the agricultural sector for the good of our dear country.
As Nigeria celebrates 61 years of independence, the Ministry of Agriculture and its parastatals felicitate with the nation and identify with President Muhammadu Buhari's desire to make the country self-sufficient in food production and lift many citizens out of poverty. Education has often been described as the biggest industry in Nigeria, with immense possibilities for the development of human resources and growth of the nation. The sudden upsurge in the number of tertiary institutions in the country and the attendant monumental decay that followed became a source of concern for the government and relevant stakeholders. To stop the rot and reclaim the lost glory, the federal government came up with the idea of an interventionist agency to provide funding for the rehabilitation, consolidation, and restoration of confidence in the sector. Prior to the establishment of TED Fund, most tertiary institutions in Nigeria were in various stages of decay, a situation that led to the collapse of facilities, impeded teaching and learning, and induced a general feeling of despondency. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund came up, therefore, as a child of circumstance with a mission to salvage the situation and restore confidence in the sector.
For us in TED Fund, we emerged about a little above midway since then as an institution, initially as Education Trust Fund or Tax Fund, later Trust Fund, 93 to 98, 98 to 2011, we became Tertiary Education Trust Fund, which is the TED Fund of today. And we know that we came into existence courtesy of an innovative idea of having a non-budgetary funding window for public tertiary institutions, and precisely the universities, the Polytechnic and the College of Education, owned by federal and state governments.
Through effective management of resources, TED Fund has recorded enormous achievements and has impacted tertiary institutions across the country. With the provision of vehicles, development and rehabilitation of lecture theaters, laboratories, classrooms, libraries, workshops, as well as administrative offices and medical centers, TED Fund has also seamlessly incorporated ICT into the process of teaching and learning in schools. Beyond its intervention in the provision of fully equipped e-libraries and the use of research and development to drive the transformation of the sector, the agency has also elevated many schools in Nigeria to the status of highly rated institutions in the world. Indeed, TED Fund has shown itself as a key agency for actualizing the Muhammadu Buhari administration's strategic plan for the development of the education sector.
We have pulled together a number of changes in the organization. Today, TED Fund is happily being reckoned with as the best intervention agency in Nigeria. I think I'm proud to associate myself with all of you that have helped us achieve this. We give credit to our predecessors. We give credit to all of the staff.
Perhaps among the most outstanding achievements of the Bogoro-led management were the timely establishment of 12 molecular laboratories in Nigeria and the approval for the siting of 6 medical research and clinical training facilities in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. No doubt, these facilities came in handy in the fight against the scourge of COVID-19 and related infectious diseases.
The president is quite passionate about that. It's a delight that when you go to a tertiary institution, you see the milestones of TED Fund all over the place.
Backed by the Tertiary Education Trust Fund Act 2011, TED Fund is funded through a homegrown solution designed to revive and sustain the tertiary education sector. Here, the Federal Inland Revenue Service is charged with the responsibility of assessing and collecting the 2% education tax levied on companies registered in Nigeria. The funds are then disbursed to beneficiary institutions and are monitored to ensure effective utilization.
We have seen the transition from 1999, when the funds were applied, when the Board of Trustees emerged. We've seen the achievements, although initially up to 2011, the funds were applied widely, including even the basic subsector that is being funded by UBEC. Now that changed with the emergence of Tertiary Education Trust Fund.
Well, it has been so nice to the extent that in last year, the entire management and board were here to to celebrate the success that we achieved as a result of the huge education tax we collected in a COVID year last year, which I think was rated the highest ever since the establishment of the agency, and also the introduction of education tax as a levy payable by corporate bodies and individuals in Nigeria. So the relationship has been so fantastic. They appreciate the effort we are putting in place, and we are happy that they are investing the money for the good of our country.
The efforts of the agency have yielded dividends and justified the expectations of its founders. Through the construction and rehabilitation of massive infrastructure, provision of instructional materials, and research publications, the imprints of TED Fund abound in tertiary institutions across the country.
It's been great, and today I want to say this, that people generally acknowledge that TED Fund is one of the most visible agencies. Let me use another word. It's one of the most impactful agencies. It shows by the physical indices as well as the statistical indices.
Gradually, the renewal efforts of TED Fund are paying off, and the campuses are beginning to look better. The funds, as managed by an 11-member board of trustees drawn from the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, are also going into academic and non-academic staff training and development, as well as other essential areas critical for the growth of higher institutions in Nigeria.
Over the years, I've worked with up to 4 board of trustees. I've enjoyed their confidence, and believe me, I use this opportunity to appreciate them.
Despite daunting challenges, TED Fund is committed to actualizing its avowed mission of becoming a world-class agency, a responsible outfit that makes the needed difference through judicious use of the taxes collected for the provision of focused and transformative intervention in Nigeria's public tertiary institutions.
We have our challenges. Some of the challenges are beyond the education sector, including, for instance, the insecurity. Some of our staff have even been abducted over the last 1 to 2 years. Family members of some of our staff have been abducted. We know it as recent as even a few days ago. Some of them were released. It is sad enough, but despite that, we have our staff going around the country monitoring our projects. I use this opportunity to appreciate you. But guess what? Let me pass this message. The Honorable Minister of Education is very happy with TED Fund. Mr. President and the government are happy with TED Fund. I use this occasion to urge you to raise the bar. There is still hope for Nigeria. Let's do it right in our own cell called TED Fund. And the summation will be a transformative Nigeria.
Through TED Fund and other agencies, the growth plan of the federal government is yielding dividends, and all sectors of the economy are feeling the positive impact of the administration.
TED Fund is for the tertiary institutions, and it's a delight that when you go to a tertiary institution, you see the milestones of TED Fund all over the place. And I believe that those who run these institutions will tell you that without TED Fund, things will have been a lot tougher and much more difficult with them. But you see the imprint of TED Fund all over our tertiary institutions, and that is very good. As an interventionist agency, I believe TED Fund has done well.
A thoroughbred academic with versatile knowledge in research and development, Professor Suleiman Bogoro came to TED Fund with clear visions and dreams, and the achievements under his administration have been overwhelming. The eminent scholar is down on record as the only appointee who has served twice in TED Fund as the executive secretary, and is an opportunity he does not take for granted.
There was an interregnum between 2012 and 2014, and I came on board April 2014 and was there for 1 year, 10 months. In 2016, I was disengaged by government based on allegations, which was the right thing to investigate. After 3 years, I was cleared And mercifully, I returned to TETFund with a jubilant TETFund staff. God bless you all. I can never forget that in my life. I was received in a manner that I never dreamt about. It was unbelievable. It was spontaneous. I returned with a resolve to retaliate. Don't mind my joke. To retaliate, in other words, to do whatever I can with all my energy and commitment to meet your expectations.
As Nigeria marks 61 years of independence, the management and staff of TETFund felicitates with President Muhammadu Buhari and the people of Nigeria.
There's a start and get.
It's our immaturity, politically and otherwise, that makes us say power must either be in the north or be in the south, instead of looking for the best.
Former vice presidential candidate of defunct CPC, Tunde Bakare, meets President Buhari, maintains stance against rotational presidency.
Change in the food component that actually brought about the general decline.
Nigeria's economy takes path of smooth recovery as consumer price index falls for the 6th month. Plus, prospects and realities of Executive Order 5 signed by President Buhari. Hello and thank you so much for joining us on NTA Network News tonight. I am Jumma Yusuf. Joining me from Lagos studio tonight is Adiola Kami Akere. You're welcome to NTA Network News. Former vice presidential candidate of the defunct Congress for Progressive Change, CPC, in the 2011 general elections, Pastor Tunde Bakare has maintained his stance against rotational presidency, describing it as political immaturity. Speaking to newsmen after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari, Pastor Bakare insists that what Nigeria needs now are leaders of character, competence, and patriotic.
It's our immaturity, politically and otherwise, that makes us say power must either be in the north or be in the south, instead of looking for the best, the fittest, the most competent, and people of character who love this nation. Not where they come from, it's what they carry and what they have to offer. May the best of Nigerians rise, whether they are from the east, from the west, from the north, and from the south. Now, if there are agreements between politicians among themselves on rotation, a bargain is a bargain. That's between them. But as far as this country is concerned, what we need at this stage is men who can drive us to the El Dorado.
Pastor Bakare, who is the General Overseer and founder of Citadel Global Community Church, however, throws his weight behind the proposed transmission of election results electronically by INEC.
Best things the present National Assembly has done, especially the Senate, because with that, Nigerians can vote. And then the results can be transmitted so easily. If we can do not just transmitting results, but to be able to vote electronically, that would be wonderful. It would deepen and enhance our democracy.
The clergyman, who is a strong advocate of restructuring, however, said Nigerians are better off together, but such togetherness must be based on equity, justice, fair play, and the rule of law. Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar, has expressed dismay over the attitude of some Nigerians who use social media to tarnish the image of prominent personalities. He was speaking when he received the President Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Samson Ayokunle, on a courtesy call at his palace. Shehu Muhammad Datti reports.
Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar described as unfair how some Nigerians use social media to tarnish the image and good names of personalities. He advised Nigerians who engage in such act to desist and be their brother's keeper. He described coming together and the unity of Nigerians as paramount to national development. The monarch informed his guests that the Caliphate had written more than 300 books on Islamic jurisprudence and other works of jihad leaders, among which 100 were translated in Hausa and English by the Sultan himself.
It is very important for us to continue to reach out to one another, to continue to respect one another, and continue to rise up together to understand one another.
The President Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Samson Ayokunle, appreciated the warm reception accorded him and his entourage. He extolled the leadership style of the Sultan, which he said is worthy of emulation. He described Sokoto as home for all, irrespective of ethnic or religious backgrounds.
We have been seeing some improvements, but they can do better. So we will not allow them to rest until they have secured every citizen of this nation by the grace of God.
Meanwhile, the current president, Reverend Samson Ayokunle, had earlier met with different Christian denominations in Sokoto State. Unity of Nigeria by all faith, insecurity, top issues discussed at a meeting. The current president, Reverend Samson, said the country would move forward if Nigerians remain united. In Sokoto, Shehu Muhammad Datti, NTA News.
The thrust of the Executive Order 5 is the recognition of the vital role of science, technology and innovation in national economic development. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila reports that the Executive Order 5 was signed in 2015 to expand Nigeria's indigenous capacity towards transformation of the economy from resource-based to knowledge-based and innovation-driven.
The main objectives of the order include harnessing of domestic talents and the development of indigenous capacity in science and engineering for the promotion of technological innovation needed to drive national competitiveness, productivity and economic activities. The Monitoring and Evaluation Council, which will be chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari, is to ensure consideration is given to Nigerian-based experts unless otherwise. The aim is basically to enrich the local content which Nigeria is blessed with.
Presidential Executive Order number 5, in essence, is placing our manufacturers, our entrepreneurs, our professionals at the very center of economic activity.
I must say this is perhaps the best thing that has happened to the manufacturing sector of Nigeria ever. I believe that we are now set to create the kind of economy that Nigeria deserves and has always had the capacity to achieve. And we have everything. We have the market, we have the resources, we have indeed the talent to be able to do it.
It is expected that the order will enhance the achievements of the nation's development goals across all sectors of the economy. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
And joining us live in the studio to speak more on the Executive Order number 5 is Dr. Kayode Ajolo, a legal consultant and public affairs analyst. You're welcome to Network News.
Thank you
very much. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
From 2015 to now, you know, the Executive Order is finally coming into effect. Tell me, where do you see the future of Nigeria with this Executive Order, which targets wealth creation, job opportunities, and strengthening the nation's economy? Where do you see Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Basically, the Executive Order was signed in 2018. Okay. That is precisely the 5th of February. And after 3 days, it was gazetted. It has been there, and that is one of the reasons one has to commend the NTA for trying to regrade this order. The order as it is more or less the issue of local content, and if I must use my word, it is like promotion of Nigerian content. And I must say, it is more like a gift to Nigeria, to professionalism in Nigeria, in the sense that everything, particularly when it comes from the basic of contract, science, technology, acquisition, is basically Nigeria. And that is one, and I believe the president has to be he has to be commended for making such an order in which that it gives professionalism in Nigeria. In Nigeria, we know that in everything, even when it comes to bidding for contract, it must first be Nigerian companies. What must be? Even this order, I must say, even they directed the Nigerian immigration when it comes to issuing of ex parte quotas, that anywhere you know that Nigeria can do the job, why are you issuing and bringing expatriate from outside the country? And I think this is the way it should be. And what we must be discussing is how are we going to make this order effective? Because it's 2018, as I mentioned. The order has been there. And I want to believe that that is why it is being again reintroduced to let Nigeria know that the president has done something great for the professionals in Nigeria. And it is for us to ensure full implementation of all order. And you should know, executive order is more like a directive to the federal agency, and in tandem with what the law says. And when you check the court order very well, you'll find out that it is an offshoot of the Public Procurement Act of 2007, in which, when it comes to you need to patronize Nigeria, Nigerian content has to be taken into consideration. Not only taken into consideration, must come first before any other thing. But still today, you see some foreign companies coming, both architects, engineers coming in face of this order. And I think this shouldn't be, because the president made the order and it has to be followed.
Okay, the order is to, encourage indigenous professionals in the planning, design, and execution of national projects. But there's a catch. Anybody professionally trained in Nigeria and working must register with the regulatory bodies to be able to key into this order.
No, certainly not only registering with the regulatory body. The first stop first will be the CAC, that's Corporate Affairs Corporation, where your company has to be registered. Then every other Nigerian regulatory body, even professional body, you have to be a member. Without you being a member, how can you be satisfied? How can we know actually where you're coming from? And these are the things, and I want to believe that apart from what the NTA is doing, all those professional body, they need to come up, they need to rise up to this task and promote that order to ensure that this order is for Nigerian. And whoever may be professionals should be able to stand and to say, look, my president has done this and we must follow it to the total.
So, before we go, where are Nigerians going? When are they going to start, experiencing the impact of this policy? And how will it stall the brain drain in Nigeria?
I think the best, I think immediately the order has been signed, they should start. And there's another thing is to now enforce. Order may not be enforced, but the order may be activated and may be reactivated, and I believe that's what we're doing, and I believe that is why the issue of that monitoring evaluation committee was saying today or yesterday about the order. It is, and again, a law, it's like a candy has been given to you. It is how you effectively, how you make use of that candy that what really matter. And
so what about the long-term impact of the
long-term impact? Of course, you should know. When we talk of Nigerian first it will promote professionalism. And second thing, and when it promotes professionalism, the expertise of Nigeria will be as strong and will be as more developed than what we have today. Everybody think of bringing expertise from abroad, thinking of bringing architects. Even some always think of bringing lawyers to the country, where we have one of the best brain in the country. And I think with this, if it is well utilized, if it's well managed, you mentioned brain drain some minutes ago, would be a thing of the past. So I think kudos must be given to the president. And while you are giving the kudos, we must ensure that his work on that executive order must be shown by ensuring that it is well implemented for the benefit of all.
So in the next 10 years, we're seeing something, different happening in Nigeria, where professionals will be duly employed and, work for Nigerians.
We should not even be thinking of 10 years. In the next 1 year, I believe, if it's well implemented, because you need to know the amount of capital flight from Nigeria.
Because implementation is key.
Of course, you should think of capital flight in Nigeria by all these expatriates, what they do and take away from the country. If all those reside in Nigeria, and like mention one thing, it will even increase professionalism, the competence of Nigeria, because when they are well patronized, they are well engaged, you will see the more you make use of Nigerian content, Nigerian professional, the better and the best they will go. And I believe it's for all, apart from the money, even competence of our professional will be so clear.
Dr. Kayode Ajulu, thank you so much for your insight on the Executive Order 5, and I'm sure it's good news for Nigerian professionals.
Very good news.
It's been a pleasure having you on Network News.
Grateful.
Now, the National Economic Council has strongly advised those planning public protests across the country to mark the anniversary of the NSAS to reconsider their decision and use other lawful alternative means of engagement. Briefing the media after a virtual council meeting with the NEC cited the current security situation across the country and the possibility of such protests being hijacked by armed hoodlums and other opportunistic criminals to cause mayhem at such events and venues. Meanwhile, the NEC has assured Nigerians that various actions, including broad police reforms, as well as establishment of judicial panels of inquiry, have already been put in place by the federal and state governments to address grievances that led to the 2020 protest.
We are more than happy to receive them and to find out what they have to say. And from what you can tell, there are so many states, even during the protest, that we are very interested in meeting with these organizers, including the police management itself. We are more than willing to meet with them, find out their position so they can be resolved amicably.
The President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has laid the foundation stone on the construction of Wachakal Airport in Karaswa local government area, Yobe State Senatorial District. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, and Yobe State Governor and Chairman APC Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, May Malabuni, flagged the President of the Senate at the groundbreaking ceremony. The report.
Wachakal Airstrip is one of the oldest airstrips in Nigeria, used by West African volunteer forces to fly troops to East Africa during the Second World War. Despite its strategic location, the airstrip was abandoned long ago until in August this year, when the Federal Executive Council approved more than 6.2 billion naira for the construction of the airport. At an elaborate groundbreaking ceremony of the project, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan, noted that when completed, the airport will ease operations of security personnel, as well as boost agricultural and economic activities of the area.
I believe that you will have a long list of all those able-bodied people, our youth particularly, our contractors who may be small-scale, medium-scale, engage them. We want economic prosperity even before the airstrip starts to function.
This airstrip, when completed, will ease transportation of goods and services into and out of the states, thereby increasing the volume of trades, creating employment opportunities, and improving the economy of the people.
It will change the dynamics, it will change the economic activity and the well-being of the people that are in this particular location, and by extension, Yobe State and Nigeria as a whole.
Some residents, while appreciating the federal government for the initiative, expressed optimism that the airport will fast-track development of the area. The airport is expected to be completed in 12 months. In Damaturu, Adam Yusuf Ali, NTA News.
The House of Representatives Committee on National Security and Intelligence will facilitate reforms for improved service delivery by the Presidential Air Fleet. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the committee went on an evaluation visit to the fleet in Abuja.
The Presidential Air Fleet is responsible for the airlift of the President of Nigeria and the Vice Presidents and other important persons as directed by the President. The Nigerian Air Force and the Office of the National Security Advisor are involved in the operations of the fleet. This visit by the House Committee on National Security and Intelligence is for performance evaluation and to ensure that services provided are not compromised.
I would want to commend the agency for sustaining an enviable record of no accidents so far in its history. This track record should be sustained, and the committee is willing to assist in this regard.
Everybody has a job to do. In that pit, you will change tire, you will service the car, you will fuel the car, they will clean it. Average time there is, I think, 12 seconds.
The meeting also enabled the committee to obtain information on budgetary releases and other challenges towards addressing them. Lami Ali, NTA News.
You are watching NTA Network News at 9. Some messages. The news continues shortly. Don't go away.
Mr. Kaku like to Kaku. Every day must do Kaku. Yeah. If you want me, go Kaku. If you want me, go Kaku. Every time he like to reason. Even free things he go bad easy. Glow is there for you in every season. You don't have to over easy. Glow, berekete, glow, orekete, glow, berekete, glow, orekete, glow, berekete.
You don't have to be a Mr. Kaku when it comes to data. Get a Glow MiFi for 12,000 naira and get up to 60 gigabytes data free.
The federal government, through NPHCDA, commenced Phase 2 vaccination of all persons 18 years and above with safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines approved by WHO and certified by NAFDAC. Special arrangement has been made for staff, their dependents and retirees of ministries, departments and agencies of government, private corporate organizations and non-governmental organizations. To benefit from this special arrangement, visit www.nphcda.gov.ng/corporate vaccination/ to obtain, fill and submit the Google form. NPHCDA will contact you within 48 hours. Protect yourself, your family and your workplace against COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccines are free, safe and effective. For further inquiries, call 0700-220-1122 or send a mail to covid19.vaccination@nphcda.gov.ng. This message is from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency.
Join over 700,000 satisfied members and enjoy the premium experience at our offices across the 36 states in Nigeria, including the FCT. Call 094615-700-704 to make the switch today. Premium pension. Active today, premium tomorrow.
Against all odds, the Fifth Senate, under Senator Kent Nnamani's leadership, preserved our sovereignty and stood by the Nigerian people.
Protecting legislative due process.
A book, Standing Strong, by Senator Kent Nnamani, chronicles an undiluted account of the botched third-term bid, the plots, the intrigues, the scheming, the debate, the vote, and the gavel.
Standing Strong is very central to our requirement for institutional integrity and national consciousness.
The book, Standing Strong, Legislative Reforms, Third Term and Other Issues of the Fifth Senate, will be publicly presented on the 21st of October 2021 at the Africa Hall, International Conference Center, Abuja. Time, 11 a.m. prompt. Special guest of honor, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Chairman of the occasion, Retired General T.Y. Danjuma, GCON. Chief host, the Governor of Yobe State. Chairman, APC Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Committee, His Excellency Maimala Buni. Co-host, Governor of Imo State, His Excellency Senator Hope Uzodinma. Book unveiling, Honorable Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, CON. Book reviewer, Professor Adebayo Williams. Chief presenter, Sir Dr. Emeka Ofo. For reservations and inquiries, call 0803-933-2373 and 0813-936-9777. Right Honorable SMA Eibo, Chairman, Planning Committee, Announcer.
Each journey has its purpose and tells a story. We are here to redefine yours. At Ibom Air, we are poised to bring game-changing, innovative services to you because our
people are passionate, our partners are committed, and our energy is high. Fly Ibom Air to experience schedule reliability, on-time departures, and excellent services. Ibom Air, a new experience.
You're welcome back. The federal government has released a revised international travel protocol for travelers coming into Nigeria with effect from Monday, 25th October 2021. The revised protocol released by Chairman of the Presidential Steering Committee and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, indicates that persons arriving in the country on business trip or official duty for less than 7 days must be fully vaccinated. Such persons must also produce a negative COVID-19 PCR test result 72 hours before boarding and are bound to take another PCR test on day 2 of their arrival. Unvaccinated and partially vaccinated inbound passengers will be required to observe a 7-day mandatory self-isolation in addition to taking COVID-19 PCR test on day 2 and day 7 after arrival. However, fully vaccinated inbound passengers will not be required to observe the 7 days mandatory self-isolation, but will be required to do a COVID-19 PCR test only on day 2 of arrival. Meanwhile, all travelers arriving in Nigeria must present a negative COVID-19 PCR test result conducted not more than 72 hours before boarding. PSC Chairman Boss Mustafa notes that the review of the protocol is based on science, national experience, and global developments. To the economy now, the federal government is establishing a special market and small-scale mineral value additional cluster in Kano State. It is aimed at creating more jobs through the non-oil sector, with the Minister of State, Mines and Steel Development, Uche Chukwu Oga, performing the groundbreaking ceremony. Abdullahi Mustafa reports.
This project is part of the post-COVID-19 intervention under the federal government's Economic Sustainability Plan. The Kano Gold Souk aims at creating an artisanal and small-scale mineral value addition cluster, formalize the activities of the artisanal miners in Kano, which is the commercial hub of northern Nigeria and a major gold trading center in the country.
We are giving you the opportunity to come and work with government so that you can have prosperity in mining. We believe that the establishment of this gold will help the artisanal miners to be richer than what they were before.
Kano State government donated the land being used for the construction of the facility.
It's an indication that Mr. President has accepted, as his earlier mentioned, business is not as usual. We must break away from the mono economy of oil to diversify other sources of the economy, including agriculture and mining.
The proposed Kano Gold Souk is expected to serve not only traders but artisanal gold miners from the northern part of the country. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
And remedy is underway for small and medium-scale enterprises affected by COVID-19 pandemic in Ebonyi State. Musa Abubakar reports that an agreement has been reached by Bank of Industry and the state to execute the Nigeria COVID-19 Action, Recovery and Economic Stimulus, NG Cares for SMMEs.
It's good news for small and medium enterprises under the $750 million NG Cares state-owned initiative. Ebonyi is the latest state to sign a memorandum of understanding with Bank of Industry to support initiatives aimed at facilitating the recovery and enhancing capabilities of micro, small and medium enterprises in the state. The bank will help the state with the use of its growth platform infrastructure, design and execution of programs targeted at MSMEs.
It is truly exciting
to witness the onset of a partnership between the Bank of Industry and Ebonyi State. Given the fact that the state has displayed passion about protecting its small businesses. We all know that supporting these small businesses is the bedrock of supporting any economy.
The technology at the level where we are right now, we expect to move further. We expect to have your professionalism, your experience to count in terms of increasing the capacity of our people, and of course making sure that we get more SMEs that are strengthened.
What is the purpose generally is to reverse the trend, to change the narrative. Those affected by COVID, those thrown into poverty by COVID, by this move we're making now, things will change.
The objective is to aid faster and inclusive recovery. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
Still talking economy, Nigeria's consumer price index is down for the 6th straight month this year as the country continues on the path of recovery. Leah Katun Babatunde reports that the National Bureau of Statistics attributes the present decline to new harvest in some food items.
Consumer Price Index CPI has been trending downwards since April this year, and by September it dropped to 16.63% year-on-year, translating to a 0.38% decline from August. On a month-on-month basis, the headline index increased by 1.15%, representing a 0.13% rise over the rate recorded previously. Statistician General of the Federation, Dr. Simon Harry, explains factors responsible for the decline.
The food component of the CPI constitutes the major component, and so any little change in the food component affects the totality, the overall figure at the end of the day. So it is the change in the food component that actually brought about the general decline, and for the fact that we are taking a total aggregate.
The data further revealed that urban inflation rate increased by 17.19% year-on-year in September 2021, while the rural inflation rate is 16.08%. On a month-on-month basis, the urban index went up by 0.15%, while the rural index rose 0.11%. Core inflation stood at 13.74%, up by 0.33% when compared with August 2021, while the core sub-index increased by 1.24% in September 2021, up by 0.47% when compared with the preceding month. Kogi, Gombe and Oyo states recorded the highest rise in headline inflation, while Yobe, Edo and Kwara recorded the slowest rise year-on-year. In Abuja, Leah Katun Babatunde, NTA News.
Let's bring you up to date with other news making the rounds, as there's good news for ex-Biafran soldiers as the federal government concludes documentation of 102 of the ex-Biafran service personnel pardoned by President Muhammadu Buhari. Minister of Defense Major General Bashir Magashi, retired, made this known in Abuja during a ministerial briefing on the activities marking the 2022 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. The minister notes that the ministry will ensure government obligations to veterans are met.
And gratuities to the retired military personnel is now prompt and regular. It will interest you to know that the Military Pension Board just concluded documentation of ex-Biafran personnel totaling about 102 who are pardoned by Mr. President.
Francis Form reports that the minister appeals for support towards the welfare of veterans and families of fallen heroes through donations and purchase of Armed Forces Remembrance Day emblem.
The year 22 celebration will further afford us an opportunity to reflect on sacrifices made in the current war against insurgency by our service personnel in maintaining peace and security in the country.
The 2022 activities for the Armed Forces Day Remembrance includes Legion Humanitarian Day Emblem Lunch, Jumat prayers, interdenominational service, and wreath-laying ceremony. Time now to join Adiola in our network studio in Lagos for more on NTA Network News tonight. Hello, Adiola. It's good to see you.
Hello, Jumai. Good to see you too. The Nigerian Ports Authority says it is putting needed infrastructure in place to drive reforms that target better environment for ease of doing business in the country. According to Managing Director of the agency, Mohammed Bello Koko, he said this while inspecting Apapa Port Complex, Control Tower, recently under renovation. Adeniyi Taiwo reports.
As a key parastatal in the current administration's effort at diversifying the economy, the Nigerian Ports Authority is required to constantly reform and refit to meet contemporary demands. This control tower provides an aerial view of the entire Apapa Port complex, offering marine pilots a vantage position to sight and communicate with incoming cargo ships. Fully convinced that bringing reforms to both personnel, operations and processes is key to success, the acting managing director of NPA, Mohammed Bello Koko, called at the Apapa Port Complex Control Tower to interact with marine pilots and monitor ongoing renovation at the tower. When completed, the tower, first built in the 70s, is expected to parade new cutting-edge radar system that can aid sighting and signaling of cargo ships, as well as decent accommodation for harbor masters.
We have to provide necessary equipment, one of which is the control tower. In the recent weeks, we have also ensured that a lot of marine equipment are being deployed to the ports, both in the east and here. We've procured pilot cutters and security patrol vessels that are also being deployed. The faster the communication, the more efficient it is, the faster the vessels will come into ports to berth.
After bringing the pilots up to speed on its vision, their expected roles, and ongoing plans to improve their condition of service, the MD also inspected vandalized gate control systems at Tinkan Island Port.
It's not as serious as it was reported on the social media and other news agencies and news medium. But it will have to be reinstalled again. Unfortunately, with this vandalism and destruction, it means that the system is not necessarily compromised, but it's not going to be effective.
The misguided attacks notwithstanding, the managing director says NPA will continue to work with other relevant agencies to deliver on its mandate, especially with regards to ease of doing business. In Lagos, Adeniyi Taiwo, NTA News.
Now, the federal government's intervention projects across the Federation is yielding positive results as the ecological project has handed over a completed jetty in Ajegunle to the Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority in Lagos. Minister of State Health, Senator Olorunimbe Mamura, says the project will address ecological challenges of siltation, flooding and pollution of ferry channels in Ajegunle and its adjoining communities.
It is estimated that an average of 6 million commuters transit from the Lagos mainland to Lagos Island. This takes travel time of 3 hours, whereas ferry transportation through the inland water takes 30 minutes to get to the destination. This will also take off 2 million commuters from the Lagos gridlock. But the high pollution rate, flooding along the riverbanks, as well as siltation along channels have, over the years, constituted hindrances to ferry services in Lagos, which is why the need to resuscitate, upgrade existing jetties, and make the ferry routes operational becomes imperative.
The completion of the project has further demonstrated Mr. President's commitment to addressing problems confronting various communities across the country.
This project intervention will provide succor to the communities whose lives and properties were hitherto now in danger.
I want to appeal to you to please see this project as your project.
Representatives of the host communities believe that the project will to a large extent reduce the burden of having to stay hours in traffic.
Most of our people in the community going for their work, they suffer so much. But we are happy now getting a short route that can lead them to their working place at Apapa.
Expecting such a thing from the government. This is one of the developments we have been seeing.
The federal government, through the ecological project, says it will continue to embark on projects that have direct impact on the lives of Nigerians. In Lagos, Ruth Ariel Samuel, NTA News.
And those are the stories from this end. We'll take another break. The network news will continue thereafter. Please stay with us.
When you wake up in the morning before you start your day, breakfast time is Kellogg's time. For work and for play, for a great start to your day, breakfast time is Kellogg's time.
We always start our day with a nourishing Kellogg's breakfast, powered with the goodness of grains and 11 essential vitamins and minerals.
Is available in 90 naira only, with 10% extra inside.
Our new toothpaste, Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection.
Why are we changing our toothpaste?
Because with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, I can be sure your teeth are cavity-free.
When you brush daily with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, its expert formula locks natural calcium in our teeth and helps protect them from cavity. Colgate is the world's most chosen toothpaste.
Colgate locks calcium in.
Keeps cavities out!
Whoa, how hot is she?
Very hot.
Pick me, just pick me, baby. Come pick me, girl. Man, I'm all ready for you.
Mmm, so tasty.
He's so lucky.
Mini-Me, taste the fun.
Wow Washing Win Millions promo. Millions of naira, daily prizes, and a million wow sachets are up for grabs. Buy wow now. Offer valid till 25th October 2021.
Each wow pack gets a lot of clothes clean and fresh. Wow. Washes a lot, saves a lot.
Take this, Mom. You will need it.
My tongue is craving something. That's what it is. Twisco. That's my favorite.
Twisco chocolate drink powder is a unique blend of cocoa, milk, and malt fortified with Enafort, a special blend of vitamins and minerals that helps give kids the vitality they need for an action-packed day.
Mommy, let me go.
Twisco, power your dream.
The Premier League is back, refreshed and revitalized and ready.
You want spicy, you're getting spicy.
He's in good shape. Harry Kane, not afraid to shoot! Top class from Harry Kane!
Storm's coming, buddy.
There's a right hand by Fury! Here goes Wilder!
This is the moment I live for. Oh, I can't breathe.
They are the bee's knees! It's a particularly massive day. An opening day hat-trick for Bruno Fernandes.
Just listen to the roar.
In your life have you seen anything like that?
Sign up at Showmax.com to get the best live sport and the best entertainment that Showmax Pro has to offer.
Manchester City return from the international break with a tricky tie against Burnley at the Etihad Stadium. Will they get their desired victory? Find out this Saturday when Manchester City take on Burnley on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu and powered by Integral.
Thanks for joining us. Minister of Labour and Employment Dr. Chris Ngige says disbursement of the 30 billion naira revitalization fund for public universities is expected to commence by the end of October 2021. Dr. Chris Ngige made this known after a meeting between representatives of the government and ASU. Joseph Ose reports.
Assessing level of implementation of the 2020 Memorandum of Understanding signed by both parties is what on the table. But the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, is not sounding happy as agreement reached in previous engagements are yet to manifest.
Many of our colleagues have still not been paid since February
2020. And the reason IPs is given, I hope they are here. The reason they are giving is that they don't have IPs number.
Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngigi, appeals for calm, says modalities are in place to commence disbursement of revitalization fund to public universities and the over 22 billion naira and academic allowances.
38 universities and an agri center benefited from that. Some other universities will not get because they didn't pass the test. They were now asked to go back and get certain things. So they're coming back. I think there are about 11 universities.
Other issues discussed include inconsistency in IPPIS, University Transparency Accountability Solution, and the 2009 renegotiation agreement, which parties agreed to continue seeking amicable solutions. In Abuja, Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
Because visibility is reduced at night and reaction time is generally slow, the Core Public Education Officer of the Road Safety Corps, Bisi Kazim, is advising motorists to always take precautionary measures before embarking on night travels. Joseph Osen has more.
Anthony Justice is one among many motorists in Nigeria who used to prefer traveling at night, especially for long-distance journeys. He's getting set for another trip, but says he no longer feels comfortable as most federal highways are not safe.
Many people don't see well at night, so it causes a lot of accidents. So I normally look at the vehicle I want to board before boarding a night journey. We need to fix our roads. It needs to be a good car.
Like Anthony, many Nigerians have abandoned night travels and only do so when they have no options.
Disadvantage is just like when you have, if there is emergency in the night, the risk is on a higher side.
The Federal Road Safety Corps is, however, advising motorists traveling at night to ensure that vehicles are in good shape as emergency services are hard to get.
I mean that you might have something to do somewhere that might entail you traveling in the night. What we always advocate, or what we tell people, is letting people know the hazards involved, but not banning or asking people not to travel.
Though FRSC may not be operating fully at night, it says emergency response teams are always on standby to render urgent services.
Because the fear is that in a situation where you have breakdown in the night, probably you may be thinking of where to run to.
It still maintains extra caution is the watchword. Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
The federal government has declared Tuesday, October 19, 2021 as public holiday to mark this year's Eid al-Mawlid celebration in commemoration of the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Minister of Interior Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, who made this declaration on behalf of the federal government, congratulates all Muslim faithful, both at home and in the diaspora, for witnessing this year's occasion. He admonished Nigerians to imbibe the spirit of love, patience and perseverance, which are the virtues of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, adding that doing so would guarantee peace and security in the country. While calling for a stop to all divisive tendencies across the country, the minister urges all Nigerians and the youth in particular to embrace the virtues of hard work and peaceful disposition to fellow humans, irrespective of faith, ideology, social class, and ethnicity. President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, on the outcome of their 7th Triennial Delegates Conference, which saw the re-election of Chris Isiguzo for a second term in office as president. In a statement, President Buhari made it clear, and I quote, that press freedom is an irreducible minimum in a democracy that would flourish. However, such freedom must be used responsibly. President Buhari urges the media to forge greater unity in the union, engage in productive dialogue to resolve any issue inimical to the progress of the association. He assures the newly elected executives that of the government's will to uphold and unrelentingly safeguard the watchdog role provided for the media in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We take another break. More reports when we return. Do stay.
This na the story of Pekin. We rise to the max. Rain or shine, it not settle for less. Na the story of small boy we get big talent. Home and away. We do. It be like say na the story of one man we fall, but we bounce back in style.
Osime, wetin dey motivate you? I want day big, special and great.
Watching us live from Big Brother House Studio.
Joy for Osime and his teammates and chuff for him as well.
Make we dey enjoy Max Entertainment together.
Sports or movies, telenovela or cartoon, music or reality TV. With just 6,900 naira, you fit get your GoTV decoder plus 1 month Max subscription. Make you dey enjoy over 75 channels with day for GoTV Max. Make you and your special ones they enjoy better things on Max levels. GoTV, love it.
Manchester City return from the international break with a tricky tie against Burnley at the Etihad Stadium. Will they get their desired victory? Find out this Saturday when Manchester City take on Burnley on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu and powered by Integral.
A movie in memory of former First Lady of Nigeria, late Mariam Babangida, has been launched in commemoration of the 2021 International Day of Rural Women. Ngozi Sylvia Technico reports that the movie is a brainchild of the Better Life program for the African rural woman in conjunction with the Ministry of Women Affairs.
The movie is to keep alive the 24 years brainchild of late Mariam Babangida that seeks to transform the status of rural women in Nigeria. Determined to keep the flame burning, Aisha Babangida, daughter to the former First Lady, expands the scope of the program.
So we're just there to help them out and support them in any way that we can with empowerment. If there's any way that maybe we can even relocate them, if they choose to be relocated, we can also do that.
How many of us here can boast of empowering at least 2 or 3 women in our villages? As God blesses you, if you remember to bless the less privileged within your community, that blessings will multiply.
Beneficiaries of Better Life for Rural Women rekindle the evergreen memories of late Mariam Legacy Project.
We don't know how to read. We must read because nobody was born with reading.
Can feed cars, spin under the sun from morning to night, trying to feed cars and make ends meet.
The movie seeks to appeal to the conscience of Nigerians and the world to reach out to the less privileged and leave an indelible imprint. Ngozi Silva Technical, NTA News.
And next, it's sports update with Ayodeji Makinde. Ayodeji, what's happening in the world of sports these days?
The countdown to the 2022 Commonwealth Games started. Welcome to Sports Update. After visiting 2 countries, the Queen's Baton is in Nigeria for 2 days and continued the official countdown to the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, United Kingdom, from July 28 to August 8. The iconic symbol was received at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, by Nigeria Olympic Committee President Habu Gumel on Friday.
The tradition is for this Queen's Battle Relay to go around to all the 72 Commonwealth countries. And I'm happy to say that Nigeria is the first country that is receiving this among the African countries. And we are happy that we are receiving it, and we want to assure the public we are going to enlighten the public.
While in the country, the baton will be presented to President Muhammadu Buhari before it continues the tour of 72 Commonwealth nations over 294 hours. Elsewhere, the maiden Osma Sahel Games is set to climax Saturday with athletes getting braced for the marathon race at the Agoye Ironsi Cantonment Sports Complex, Abuja, and we will live on the Nigerian Television Authority network service at 7 a.m. In the final of the men's football match Friday afternoon, Chad defeated Cameroon 3-0 to emerge champions. As host country, Nigeria finished third after defeating Guinea by a lone goal.
Chad.
The week-long championship is part of efforts by the military in the Sahel region to foster unity and strengthen cordial relationship. Nigeria Chess Federation moved a step further in its development program by participating in a virtual friendly game with Hungary as they continue to comply with COVID-19 guidelines by the Presidential Steering Committee. President of the Federation, DIG Sani Mohammed, retired, says despite Nigeria losing, they encounter 3.5 to 8.5 points in 2 rounds. More tournaments will be organized to improve rankings of players both nationally and internationally.
One is to foster diplomatic relations. Secondly is to study our inadequacies and seek for technical assistance so that we could improve. You could see from first round of 2 rounds were played. The first round ended in a draw. The second round, they had an edge. Of course, you could see that they had to fight hard.
Actually, I have to congratulate to the participants and the organizers. Nigeria was excellent.
The tournament is the first virtual championship to be played in the country. And that's your sports. It's back to Jumai.
Thank you so much, Ayodeji. Makinde on Sports Update there. The Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, has described the passage of the paramount ruler of the Jukun race and chairman of the Taraba State Council of Traditional Rulers, His Majesty Dr. Shekaro Aguiu Masa Ibi, who joined his ancestors at the age of 85, as a great loss. In a condolence message to the Jukun and Taraba Traditional Councils, the Director General said the loss of the monarch represents the end of an era, as the royal father had spent over 4 decades providing wise counsel to all and sundry. Malam Yakubu said the late Aku Uka was a man of integrity. While condoning the Governor Darius Isiaku and all descendants of the great Kwararafa kingdom, the DG prayed God to grant the royal father eternal rest and comfort the Jukun nation and the entire people of Taraba State. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather prospect.
Hello, we expect the day to start up with slim chances of rains to parts of the southeastern coast and some parts of the southwestern coast. We also look towards the northeast, where we expect much cloudiness over Borno, Taraba and Adamawa with slim chances of rains. But the afternoon is where we expect better prospects, as we expect rains to affect much of the southern parts of the country. We also have prospects of isolated thunderstorms to the high ground areas of the central states, and we look to late evening thunderstorms to affect much of the northeast, which may linger into parts of Saturday morning.
That's NTA Network News for tonight. Well, before we go, don't forget to step up, be a star, join NTA in the fight against rape and rapists. I am Jumbai Yusuf.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. app for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Welcome to Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.
Lives are in your hands while you drive. Protect yourself and others on the road. Road Matters, shown on the network service of the NTA. Join us.
This is the network service of the NTA.
The housing solution we have developed is a multifaceted one. First, we have tried to lead a program to build what we think will be an acceptable and hopefully affordable housing type based on surveys we did in 2015-2016 and construction that started in 2017. And that's going on in 34 states as the National Housing Program.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The League of Women Voters of Nigeria, NILOV, is an all-female NGO of women uplifting other women. NILOV, founded by Dr. Dame Esther Adwehi, is a non-political and non-partisan organization whose aim is to empower women economically and politically for a more perfect democracy. Some of our dedicated members passionate about the education of the girl child and empowerment of women include former Minister of Industries, Chief Mrs. Nike Akonde, first female MD, Bank of Industry, Ms. Evelyn Oputu, former two-time Minister and Ambassador Dr. Kema Chikwe, Hajia Ina Chiroma, former Ministers of Women's Affairs, Senator Stella Omu and Iyom Joseph Aneni, Senator Daisy Danjuma, former permanent secretary and head of the service, Ms. Ama Pepple. Let's join these distinguished women and others like Senator Biodun Olujimi, Senator Uche Ekonife, Right Honorable Felicia Bassi, Honorable Chinwe Mornu, Dr. Rosalind Okosu, Dr. Regina Omog Agege, and others. NILOV, women lifting other women. NILOV, together we can.
Manchester City return from the international break with a tricky tie against Burnley at the Etihad Stadium. Will they get their desired victory? Find out this Saturday when Manchester City take on Burnley on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu and powered by Integral.
Once more in the history of Nigeria, exigencies demanded a multifaceted approach to shore up the economy and enhance the stature and status befitting of a true giant of Africa. Then came the vision for a rescue mission. For decades, Nigeria leaned heavily on oil as its most prized foreign exchange earner. But with the continuous decline of global oil prices, Nigeria, the African giant, had to look to other sectors in a bid to shore up its dwindling fortunes. With growing population and the nation's industries in dire need of resources needed for growth and development, something drastic had to be done, and agriculture was identified to be the best option to reduce the country's dependence on oil revenue. The revitalization of the world's oldest profession in anticipation of bountiful harvest meant the critical sectors that houses water development has to be involved. The Ministry of Water Resources, along with its instrumentalities of the River Basin Development Authorities, vast irrigation network, and dams are now the key players.
For Nigeria to be strong agriculturally, the way to go is the river basins, because the water resources of this country is with the river basin. The land for agriculture is with the river basin. With all of that, we'll be able to harness the resources that is in the basin for the benefits of Nigeria.
For years, these 12 strategic technical agencies under this ministry had been struggling. A dearth of adequate planning and visionary leadership meant the ministry sunk deeper into an abyss with each passing year. But with the coming of a man imbued with determination and focus at the helm of affairs, things have begun to take shape. An engineer with passion for development, the Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, seems happy with the new focus of the Nigerian government on agriculture. To revitalize the sector and boost agricultural production, a comprehensive retreat that was both retrospective and forward-thinking was organized.
Apart from the ministry to support poverty alleviation, the employment crisis, and economic empowerment programs, and food security, there is no better platform than the River Basin Development Authorities.
The result-oriented minister has not only selected the best to drive the desired change, he has supported them with instruments of ideas, policies, and programs previously lacking in the ministry's leadership.
The role of the governing boards of the 12 river basins is a critical element for the success of the agricultural evolution in the country. Therefore, we are expected to bring to fore the vision of the present administration by developing sound policies and programs that will put your parastatals and agencies on sound footings for effective and efficient delivery of the ministry's visions.
Not long after his reforms began to work in the Ministry of Water Resources, the 12 RBDA's managing directors, a product of the reform themselves, became agents of change in shoring up the access to water nationwide and in general transformation of agricultural landscape.